Good evening and welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. We welcome you back every Monday night and thank you for being here. Tonight, our special guest is Tarralyn Jones. She is the author of Living a Mass Life. Thank you, Tarralyn, for being here this evening with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is sponsored by Iowa's Diamonds, LLC, brought to you by Milton McCulloch, author of Love and Emancipation, L.D. Robinson, owner and operator of Ladero Press, a Dante production, who is our new sponsor. Thank you, Dante. And the Fresh Book Festival 2022, which is 6, 7, 8 January of 2022. We are so excited about that coming up. We have lots of great authors coming in from all over the United States. So please join us at www.freshbookfestivals.net and register to be with us this year in January. If you have any questions for Tarralyn, please leave them in the chat room. We will get back to those questions at the end of the conversation. And I must tell you that this conversation is being recorded. Thank you very much. Good evening, Ms. Jones. Please take a moment to introduce yourself to our listening audience.
Sure. I am the wife of Willie Jones, my husband. We've been married for 33 years this past May. Yay. I'm the mother of 3 children, Brian, Candace, and Christian, a proud mother. They're doing quite well for themselves. I am the business owner of TJ's Designs and Events. I am the National Events Coordinator for PIFMA, and that stands for Professional Football Players and Mothers Association.
Nice.
And I am an evangelist missionary. And also I am a breast cancer survivor. And I'm just blessed.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Blessed every day. So thank you for being here. Yes. So after reading your bio, it was clear that you're a serial entrepreneur, right? And can you expound on your TJ Design Events and how it came about, and the other businesses that you are currently actively a part of?
Sure. I am the CEO, principal founder of TJ's Designs and Events, and it came about actually back in 2002. It was named, actually, the original name was TJ's Promotions and Event Planning. Mm-hmm. I was more involved with different local artists in the area, trying to help promote them and do several events. Back in 2014, I changed the name to TJ's Designs and Events, because I want to incorporate the customization of the services, which I define it as unsurpassed signature events, giving you an experience, meaning not a cookie cutter, but it's when you come to me, it's customized to your liking. It's different from others. And pretty much that platform has expanded to the point where people come to me for just that. For customization, the signature look, to be able to differ from others, and also to give them a voice, if that makes sense, of their product and services. So
it's very events with elegance, events with elegance.
Elegance, and also it kind of introduce what your theme is, what you're trying to do. It kind of open up a window where you can just walk in and say, oh, this is what she's doing. It gives you an outlook as to what the services that you provide. And basically, I tell them that it gives you a dashing, I love that word, dashing and tailored appearance and services.
Is that the only business you're currently involved in, or do you have others?
Well, now I have the Self-Care Diva.
Right.
It's the chat. And we'll be coming back in November with 2 segments. I'm so excited about that. The guests are going to floor you. And that platform has opened from TJ's Designs and Events. So I can utilize my talents and open up the Self-Care Diva, where I will have the different various events, being an advocate for women, showcasing who they are, what they are, and what they can become. And also being an advocate for young ladies, giving them an ideal as to the walk of life. Because, with social media now, it's taking it to another level. Yes. People are comparing themselves to others. Yes. Just learning how to live in your truth, your authentic you. So I'm excited about the Self-Care Diva, because it's going to take it to different various elements of learning how to love you.
Yeah, that's important. So thank you for reaching not only to women of a seasoned age, but reaching back to women who are up and coming in their womanhood. Because
That's right.
listen, we don't get there for a very long time. You know, I
That's
mean,
correct.
it takes about what I'd say from 19 to 35 before it really kind of sinks in about who you are as a woman, and maybe even longer than that. So thank you for including them. And thank you for being with us this month as we celebrate breast cancer awareness. Tell us about your experiences with breast cancer and brain tumors, and discuss how having a collaborative partner like Mr. Jones helped you through your illness.
Well, I'm have to start with just we as women. I can say men too, but we as women, we take on a lot of responsibility, meaning that we become a lot. We become I have to say it, the mom, the dad, although you're married. Sometimes, you step away from your husband, they get lost, right? Oh, they come back to you, but you become a routine where you have to do everything. And you sort of, kind of, no, you do forget about yourself.
Right.
You may have appointments and you say, oh, you know what? Let me cancel this day. I got to go to my child, this or that. And you forget the appointment. You cancel, you forget to reschedule. Well, going back to me in 2002, I was, your body, I just wasn't feeling just right. So I scheduled a mammogram, and my primary had the mammogram done, and the results came back, and my primary physician called me. She called me at work and asked me to come to the office. So I knew that was kind of odd. I said, well, can you tell me over the phone? She said, no, I need you to come to the office. So went to the office, and I remember walking through the door, and you know how you get that ill feeling like something's not right. So I walked through the door, and the receptionist automatic was waiting for it was towards the end of the day. So she automatically walked me to the back room. And I tell you, when she walked me to the back room, as I was walking, I was feeling like, oh, something not right. So she sits me down, so Tarralyn, I'm going to schedule you for a biopsy. She told me what was found, and she said, we need to go make sure. So make a long story short, had the biopsy, schedule it with the other physician. Come to find out I was a stage 4.
Oh. Was that on both sides or just one side?
Right side.
Right side.
Right side. So the decision was quick. I had to make a decision, what I was going to do. Met with the surgeon and what have you. Ended up having a mastectomy with a reconstruction. That was successful, but I did go through the treatment, 8 aggressive treatments. Now, going through the treatments, I never bought into the diagnosis, if that makes sense to you. Sometimes you may not understand it, because yes, I was shocked about the diagnosis, but I didn't want to buy into it because in my mindset, I'm a mom, I have my wife, I have 3 children, all these things are going through my head. So I couldn't really think about that. I stayed focused. I prayed. I called my mother, actually. She was the first call that I made, going back to the initial finding out my diagnosis. And I prayed about it. And I just kept walking in faith. I'm going to get through this. Going through the treatment, I remember sitting in the chair, getting my first treatment. They told me what to expect. They said, you're going to feel the chemo going through your body. And I felt it. I knew exactly where it was at.
When it hit
when it hit the heat, I felt it. And I said, oh Lord, get me through this. And they told me I would go blind for like a couple seconds. And I did. And I just sat there. And I looked around, and I was actually the oldest. It was 2 other young ladies there in their late 20s that was also getting chemo. And I got through the aggressive treatment. I went through the hair loss. I had pretty lengthy hair, and I just got through it. And I remember going to, at that time, the insurance paid for wigs. And I'm telling you this because I'm going to get to a story.
Okay.
Because I was all about the hair, and I went to this place, and I found a wig similar to what my haircut that I had. And they sat me down, and I chose, and they actually cut it like I had worn it. And I kept it. And I hadn't returned back to work yet. Still going through the chemo because I had to go through all of that. And as I was walking, I said, Lord, I'm not going to bind. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to act like nothing never happened. I'm going to keep staying focused on getting through this last treatment and getting through returning back to work and keeping my norm. Well, got to the last treatment and I heard that bell ring.
I know.
That's a sound that you will never forget. My last treatment. 2 weeks later, I went back to work. And I don't know if any of you going through this, you know, when you go through sickness or any other, whatever it may be, people always walking on eggshells. They don't know what to say. At the time, I was a supervisor / director of a department. And I remember walking through the door and everybody was kind of tense, so they didn't know what to say, but I had my new wig on them, but it looks like my hair. So they was confused, like, she don't look like she's been through anything. She didn't look, I can read their mind. So I shut the door and they didn't know, oh, wait, they were, oh, so glad for you to come back. Oh my God. But I can tell they were still walking on eggshells.
Right.
So what I did was I shut the door and I snatched off the wig. And I started laughing hilariously. And then they started laughing because they were shocked because they thought that was my hair, right? But the reason I did that was to break the monopoly, so we could have a conversation about what I went through. So they knew that I was okay. So now they could be okay. So when we did that, then they understood and it was fine from there. Moving forward, working, following my appointments. 2008, I had a reoccurrence.
On the left side.
That's correct. I had a reoccurrence. And that came out of nowhere. It was not expected. This form of treatment was radiation only. And got through that. Staying focused, doing everything I thought I was supposed to do. In 2014, I was coming back from a client, driving on 520, having this piercing migraine to the point where I didn't know where I was at. I called my sister and I think my husband, and I said, I got to get home. I don't know where I'm at because I got confused because the headache was just pounding. And from 520 to my home, it should take about 20 minutes. Well, it was over an hour plus. I couldn't remember. And the only thing I remember to this day was I remember getting on the express, but to this day, I know it was nobody but God that got me home. I got to the subdivision. I recognized the subdivision. By that time, I couldn't remember how to put the car. When I drove into the subdivision, I just kept riding. And by the grace of God, I didn't hit anybody because I couldn't remember how to put my feet on the brake. So I got close to the home and I could see my sister, my husband, and my son in the driveway. So when I pulled up, I slowed up a little bit. I was able to recognize where my feet was on the pedals, and I was able to grace myself in the driveway. But by that time, my son gets in the car and put the car in park. And when my sister looked in my eyes, she said, oh my God, you gotta go to the emergency room. Because she saw it in my eye. I said, no, I'm gonna take a Tylenol and get in the bed. I just can't think. From that point, we went to the emergency room, and they found out that I had 2 tumors in my brain after getting this CAT scan. They had to do an emergency surgery and transferred from Winter Park Hospital to the main hospital. I remember laying there and they had to shave everything off, my hair, they had to go through the prepping part. It was an emergency, they had to get it done because my brain was inflamed and that was causing the migraine. If I would have laid down that night, this is what I was told, okay. I wouldn't be here today. But on November the 23rd, recovering from my surgery, and thank God for praying family, church family, friends, because prayer sustained me, got me here. I'm here because of prayer. On November the 23rd, I was recovering. I remember laying in the bed, had my family, I had family members there, and the football game was on. And I remember opening my eyes, and my son was making a fumble recovery against Tampa Bay Bucks. And I tell you the truth, I opened my eyes and saw the fumble recovery. And I was recovering from my surgery at the same time. By the grace of God, I am here, still standing, and I thank God for it. And that was my experience, 2002, 2008, 2014.
Well, because it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, could you tell us when you had decided to do the mastectomy? What did that process take? Because it was so devastating, it didn't take long, or you had to really think about it?
It was a decision that had to be made. I was given the information as to what to expect, how it would take place, the treatments, which it was different phases of it, the mastectomy. It's like I had a tram flap where they just open the breast, remove the inside. It's like a tram flap. And then you go back later and you have the nipple replacement, the tattoo, and the whole 9 yards. It's mostly cosmetic as well. So it was all done in several steps, but the decision was almost, I'm not going to say immediate, but it had to be a decision that had to be made. So that's why I'm an advocate of breast cancer awareness, because we do have to be aware of the different options, and you have to be an advocate for yourself and educate yourself at the same time with the different types of offers that you have that's presented to you. And also, I tell everyone to learn who your physicians are, build a relationship, not just have one option, have more than one option to look at, because you have to be an advocate for yourself. They may think one thing is good for you, but by the time you look at the option, that option may be better.
So when you were in the mom mode, doing the mom stuff, working, wife, what was that time period that you let lapse from your mammogram?
It was almost a year.
So it only took a year. It only took a year for the cancer to progress to that stage, right? So that's why everybody, it's so important for you to have a mammogram every year.
Every year.
Yeah. Because you're telling me that in that 8 to 9 months, you went from maybe stage 1 to stage 4.
Wow, and so you got to realize everybody's body is different. I had a genetic test, and I tell every woman to go ahead and invest or talk to your physician about a genetic testing. With me, it's hormonal. Nobody in my family that I knew about that ever had breast cancer. To this day, I don't really know of anyone that has. So I went ahead and had a genetic testing, finding out that mine is more hormonal. So I had to educate myself on that. And I was more concerned about my daughter, because I have a daughter.
Right. Did she have the test?
Yeah, we had the test. Okay. So I found the genetic test is very thorough. It's through a company. It actually called gene testing. And it really goes into really deep background about both sides of your family. So I advise you to do that.
Did you have your son tested?
He's part of the genetic testing. The entire, yes, it's all the kids.
Okay.
So the results came back. They're fine, but the next generation will be a concern. So it gives you an outline of everything. So they have copies of the genetic test to keep in their file. So it's very important, I think, that you know about this genetic testing.
And so just for the audience, most people don't understand that men get breast cancer too.
Men get breast cancer too.
Yes. And so I don't know that they have mammograms for men. What do they do for men? Do you know? Tarralyn, go ahead.
I think they do testing for the men as far as.
It's probably a 3D?
The testing that I'm aware of is genetic testing that what I was involved in. But as far as the details, I'm not sure about that.
No, I was talking about the mammogram. How would do they do it just like we do, or do they do 3D? Did they talk to you
3D,
about
3D,
3D?
3D,
Okay.
3D.
Okay,
3D.
so gentlemen, it's out there. It's a 3D test. It takes about 10 minutes, and most insurances will pay for it. So
Yep, the first time, yes.
Yeah, the breast cancer is not just about women. So thank you for that, and our quest to
and also I would like to encourage people to please support Making Strides Walk.
Yeah.
Because they have this research that is very vital and is very important to find the cure for this breast cancer. And we're actually having one on in Orlando on the 30th. And I advise everyone to walk, if it is not in Orlando, in your local city, to support this cause.
And so if we wanted to attend the one in Orlando, would you want to send that information to me at the end of the show, or do you want to?
Yes, I'll send that to you. And our team is called the Southern Region. That is our team, the Southern Region. So if you want to support Making Strides Walk of Orlando, please sign up with Southern Region team.
It's a 3K or a 5K?
They're doing the 5K at 7 a.m. and the walk at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And I'll be opening up the ceremony, the kickoff at 9 a.m. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your story. So you have an amazing work background, but tell us about your ministry as an evangelist and how did that progress? I mean, were you always in a spiritual magnitude, or did you work up to that?
I worked up to it. You know how you run and can't hide. Yeah. I became evangelist.
I'm knocking.
August 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. So I'm excited. I use this platform because I'm an advocate for women, young women. I utilize my platform to talk about my experiences to help them along the way. And that's how I utilize my evangelist missionary role to encourage, motivate, and inspire. And of course, utilize that self-care diva platform as well.
An evangelist does what for those of us who may not be religiously inclined?
Well, evangelist is a person that is there to encourage you with no discrimination, be there to help you, guide you, to learn, who you are and put Christ in your life if you don't know who Christ is in your life, and direct you and be there for you. It's been a role that
a spiritual mentor.
A spiritual mentor. But you can't be opinionated. So some people can put their own opinions. You got to stand on the word of God. You can't differ. You can't shift that. You got to stand on the word of God as your support, so they can also go back and read and study the word for themselves.
Yeah, not your opinion, but God's.
Not your opinion. Not your opinion. No, you can't do that.
So with all that being said, how did you manage to find time to write a book? And at one point, were you called to write it? So, I've written books, right? But when you start book writing, there's also a calling to that, right? When were you called to write the book, and how did you find time?
You know what? I started wanting to write a book almost 10 years ago. It took that long because the name of the book is Living a Masked Life.
Yes.
So when you think about a mask, you're hiding something, right? So it took some time because it involved myself, my family, the things that I went through. So it took time whether or not I wanted to reveal some of those things or not. So I decided at that point, about 2 years ago, you know what? It's time for me to write this book because I believe it'll help somebody. So overall, it took me about 10 years.
And most people don't understand that. The younger generation thinks you can write a book overnight. Well, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't happen overnight. It has to be a spiritual journey to get there, first of all. And you have to do some cleansing within yourself if you're going to write a book like yours,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that takes time.
It takes time.
So, so thank you for that. Living a mask life, please expound on what that means and why it may mean and what it may mean to others. When you say living a mask life, like what are you talking about particularly?
Living a mask life is you're not being authentic you, you're hiding behind the mask.
Like what? What are we hiding?
You're hiding your personal life, you're hiding things that you're going through, you're hiding things that that you don't want anybody to know about, secrets. You're living in bondage because you don't want anybody to know. You don't want anybody to make an opinion about yourself. Just hiding, and you feel you become the mask become your identity. You're so comfortable behind it because you don't have to deal with anything behind that mask, and you're hiding things that are that you fall and prey to, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And are you unveiling or unmasking family toxicity, relationship toxicity?
That's
friendship? Correct. Okay. Of all kinds, your family, your friends.
Right.
And so let's talk about friendships, because women have a quote unquote, sometimes not significant friendships with other women, right? So when you went through your list, how did you decide who, we call that the lifeboat drill, right? So how many people stayed in the boat and how many people did you throw overboard?
Quite a few. You asked the question, I gave you.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good.
Because I find that if you go through life and you let's say if you go through your phone, your cell phone, right?
Yes.
And you look through yourself for how many people have contributed to your life, how many people have not, how many have, and you start deleting those names, and you look at, okay, it started with 30, now you're down to 5. Those 5 are the ones that are more influential in your life. What I find out that sometimes people can be close to you for the wrong reasons. They're not there for you as the good, the bad, and the ugly. Think about it. If you go through the good, how many stay with? If you go through the bad, the names stop dropping off, and you go through the real ugly, how many you left with?
Mm-hmm. And did you have conversations with these people, or you just let them go by the wayside?
2 things. They go by the wayside on their own. And they just drop off.
So you didn't have to have actual conversations with the ones who were thrown off the boat.
Yeah, and sometimes they resurface when they think you're going another direction.
Right.
But at least you know. You don't have to be let them know. You just know.
Right. Exactly. That lifeboat drill is something that I recommend for everybody. You should do it at least once a year.
But you know what? When I wrote the book, I started unveiling some things. Even in marriage, you go through a lot in marriage.
Yes.
A lot of people don't want to talk about that, the good, bad, and ugly. But that's what marriage is. You go through the good, the bad, and the ugly to death do you part. But when I wrote the book, I was so surprised with I shouldn't be, but I was, with the response.
Right.
Because people realize when they start writing me and sending me emails and DMing me, they say, you know what, Tarralyn, I wasn't wearing one mask. I found like 4 or 5 of that I was wearing.
Yeah. Down the line, you start peeling off. It's called
peeling off, right?
Right. So there are things we want people to be delivered from. And after reading your book, there are a couple of points I want you to make, right?
Okay.
Recognizing toxicity in recognizing toxicity that keeps you in bondage. What are the signs for that?
The signs of toxicity?
And bondage. And those are 2 different things.
It's the signs that I have found is, okay, let's talk about marriage.
Okay.
When you meet someone, it's very important, not just talking about my marriage, but in a whole, as a whole.
Yeah, marriage as a whole.
As a whole, you need to know his family. You need to know his family. There may be things that's identified as his family or your family that may be generational. Okay, that has not been identified. That may be a habit. That may be abuse. That may be a lot of things that can trickle over into your marriage because it has not been identified. I think those little, I think God give you an indicator in your body that you should know, and you know, you refuse to listen to it.
Right.
It's always there.
Right.
And so you know, but I don't want to see that. I want to, but it's there for you to recognize that this needs to be dealt with. Because if not, then it's going to move on to some other issues.
And when you speak about bondage, are you talking about bondage when it comes to maybe the things that you want to do that you don't do because you're in this relationship? Is it about maybe having ideas of being an entrepreneur like you and choking those down because you're doing other things for other people? Is that the kind of bondage you're talking about, or are you actually talking about physical bondage?
Both. Both.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot to uncover.
Mm-hmm. A lot to uncover.
Yes,
and see, I like to tell people, I know you asked this later, but if you want to love who you are, you first got to know who you are.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Mm-hmm. So steps go ahead.
And so when you start peeling back things like I did, it's a lot of things that I found about myself that I had to peel back. Sometimes you're so angry about certain situations, you thought you let it go and you didn't. Another thing about it too, that can trigger over to stress. And people don't believe this, but stress will take you to the grave. If you hold on to that stuff, even to the point where not either stress, but hating somebody or holding a grudge, that stuff will take you to the grave because you go to bed with it, you wake up with it, it's in your subconscious mind. It's always carrying that weight. That's where high blood pressure comes from. You think you're not thinking about it, but you are. Every time you think about it, you get mad. Yeah.
You're right.
And so that contributes to your health. I don't care any way you think about it, it's part of your health. Your mental state, your physical state, and your soul. Do you want to go to hell and not know that you're holding this grudge knowingly?
Yeah. So let's talk about forgiveness and how that's part of the unmasking to your authentic self. Tell me what your journey of forgiveness was about.
My journey was a long journey because I got married. I was 20 years old, 21 years. I was young.
And this is the same gentleman?
Yes. My husband. Yes. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like to be an advocate, because you learn a lot going through your marriage. You learn a lot. He was married before, had 2 children. When I never liked kids. I didn't even like to babysit. But my focus was going to school, college, get my degree, being this businesswoman. And here it is, I get married, have 3 children back to back. And here it is, I had to learn through the process of being married to someone who was married before and had 2 children.
And co-parenting. Co-parenting,
right. And that was a lot at that time, but I got through the process. But through it all, I had some experiences that I held on to that put me in a focused mind where I worked all the time. He at the time was coaching and what have you. And it just put me in a mode where I was constantly focus on that one and not focusing on myself. And I'm 55 years old today.
Oh, happy birthday.
And it's not a birthday, but I turned 55 this past August.
Oh, okay.
But what I'm saying is I'm just not learning me.
Oh, right.
See, I peeled off a lot, and so what I'm saying is that's why I call myself a self-care diva now, because it's all about Tarralyn now. Because once I take care of Tarralyn, I can take care of everybody else. But it took all that time to peel away the hurt, the forgiveness, and now I'm to the point I'm authentically me. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care. I'm just happy. It just took that load off. I feel free. And that's why living this mass life, I went into the book identifying the type of mass on the spiritual side and comparing it to the natural side so people can understand what a mask can be and whether you are or whether you are wearing one of those particular masks and how to remove that mask step by step by step, living the authentic you and living in your truth.
Right. And you meant your motto or your mantra is to live, laugh,
love,
and love again.
Love and live your best life.
And live your best life. So when you talk about loving again, and do you mean that through the years that you were married, there are different stages of love that you have in those many, many years by loving again?
Oh yeah.
It's different. It's different stages. Right?
It's different. Yeah, it is. It is.
So the love that you had at 20 is not the love that you had 37.
It's like this. It's like this. When I met 6'4", dark, handsome, tall.
Tall drink of water.
Yeah, my boo thing. Yeah. But I met him. Now he's 60. Oh, he get me. We're like 9 years, a little bit 9 years apart. But look, the body changes, but he's still my boo thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So nothing's changed. So the love is there.
Right.
It is there. It haven't changed. You go through different stages of your life, but the love is still there. It's just the situations have changed. And I gravitated to the point where you got to keep God first of all, you got to keep God first in your life. You got to be first in the head. You can't get through these things because marriage is not perfect. You're going to go through some deep stuff, through the sickness, the different types of waters you got to cross. Divorce comes up. You go through different things, but you gotta love on each other despite. You gotta be there. That's the part that people are missing now.
Yeah, they call it through the fire to the limit.
They don't want to go through. They don't want to go through that fire. They stick their toes in that fire and want to pull it right back out. But you got to keep it in there and keep moving.
Through the fire to the limit.
Yes.
To the wall. And they just don't want to do that anymore.
They don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. No, that hurt. I'm not gonna do that.
Oh no, I'm not doing this again.
I'm not doing that. Yeah. So we talked about this often on this show when people say to you, oh, everybody writes a book. Well, everybody doesn't write a book. And for our first time authors, tell us about the things you would never do again while developing and publishing your book. And will there be additional books in the future? Did you hear me?
You talking to me?
Yes, that's a question to you.
Oh yes, there is another book I'm working on.
Right.
It's coming out. It'll be out mid next year. I'm excited about it. And it tag teamed with this particular Living a Mass Life. And I'm excited because it's going to really be a celebration of taking that mask off.
Right. Yeah. I think it's called the metamorphosis, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What happens next? So tell us some things that you would never do again when developing and publishing your book for our first time authors. Do you have some lessons learned that you could tell them about?
Yes. Well, my transition with writing the book was a pretty good experience. It really was. It took so long to write it. I educated myself on the process and the things that I didn't know. I inquired about it, and I had a very good publisher that was very patient with me, Dominion House. She was really great. So I had a very good experience.
Are they still in business?
Yes, it's Tasha Campbell from my Dominion House, and then she was walked me through the process patiently, and it took some time. And any questions that I had, she addressed it. So my experience was a great one.
Does she only do spiritual, religious books, or is she open
Yes,
to?
that's correct.
She's only a spiritual religious
Yes.
publisher. So, and the cover is always the hardest thing. So
The cover, her name is Ketty, Bianca Ketty, and I told her exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be looking at the sun coming down, sunset, with a mask on. And we did the shoot in Winter Park, but I wanted it to be artful, and she slam dunked on it.
Right, she did.
Yes,
right.
She did.
Did it take a moment for you to want to be on the cover? Because you could have just put a mask, or you could have put a woman in different stages of taking it off. Why did you?
I wanted to be on the cover because it was me that was wearing the mask, and I wanted to showcase the fact that I was wearing the mask. And on the back cover, you'll see me with a mask in my hand. That's actually showcasing the fact that I removed the mask.
Could you show us, the audience, your the cover of the book?
That's I don't know if you can see it.
The light is, yeah.
Yeah, the light probably.
That's okay. They can always go to www.amazon.
Yeah, you can go to tarralynjones.com.
Yeah, tarralynjones.com and see it. How many edits did you go through?
Edits, I think it was a total of 4.
4 edits. Okay, so you went through it, and then you went through it again, right? Did you take a lot of stuff out, or did you put more stuff in?
A combination. Expound.
Well,
I took when I started writing, the first draft, it was a lot of content that was repetitive. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I went back and I removed the second edit. I started compounding what was already said more than one time. So that's why it was 4 edits.
Right.
So I finally got to the final product.
And how did it feel when the book came to your home?
Like Christmas.
It did, didn't it?
Yes,
does.
it did.
It does. I mean,
I kept looking at it like, oh, this is really fine. Oh my God.
My name is on it. My name is on it. Yeah. It's it's a really nice feeling. So congratulations on book 2. I'm sure there'll be a 3 and a 4. We'll just stay tuned for those. And we want to talk briefly about being a professional football players mothers association. Give us you didn't have nothing better to do, right? So give us a brief background on the organization and why it was started.
PIFMA, it stands for, a lot of people haven't heard of it, but it's been there since 95, I think it was. But PIFMA is P as in Paul, F as in Frank, P as in Paul, M as in Mary, A as in Apple. And it stands for Professional Football Players Mothers Association. It's a support system and network for mothers of active and retired professional football players. And we help the moms understand and navigate the business of football. And it's a support system, internal support system. And we support, and our motto is support, success, and service. And we work on individual communities with charitable giving. And it's a wonderful organization. I'm so proud to be a part of it as the National Events Coordinator.
And you do kind of help the young men navigate you do get into contracts and their career. Yeah. That's really, really nice. Yeah. And how long have you been a part of this organization?
Ooh, I think it's been 6 years.
6 years. So is there anything else you want to share with us this evening about your book, about your journey?
Well, just look out for the Self-Care Diva chat. We're coming back in November. We have a great lineup of special guests. I'm so excited
It's
about
going to
it.
be a Zoom. How is it going to be?
It's going to be a streamlined
A
platform.
streamline? Mhm.
Yes, and so I'm excited about it. The first one we did back on the 9th of September
Mhm.
with Kimberly Odom Webster and
Wow.
our commissioner Regina Hill,
Mhm.
and it was awesome. And people are wanting more, and they're gonna be very surprised with the lineup that's coming up in November.
November, next month?
Next month, yeah, it's gonna be announced in November. And also, I wanted to announce that we're gonna do giveaways as well.
Mhm.
And there will be events coming up that we're excited about. So
Do you have a
stay
date on
tuned.
that yet?
It's going to be coming, I think the second and the last Friday of November. And if you want an autographed copy of the book, just go to tarralynjones.com. You'll find the Self-Care Diva products. You'll find the book if you want an autographed copy on that website, tarralynjones.com.
And so now we will ask you to leave us with a pearl of wisdom.
I would love to. Life is like a roller coaster. You can scream every time there's a bump, or throw your hands up and enjoy the ride. So I'm telling you, each one of you, to live, laugh, love, and live your best life.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for being a part of the celebration of breast cancer awareness. It's not something that's easy to talk about, especially when you've been through the journey, and sharing your metamorphosis of coming out of the cocoon and becoming this wonderful butterfly that we see in front of us today. So I thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here and taking the time to be on Zoom in on the Fresh Conversation.
Thank you.
In January 2022, that is the F.R.E.S.H Book Festival. We hope to see you all there. Hey, Maurice, good to see you. And have a safe night. Good night. Good night, Tarralyn. Thank you.